Hi, I'm Jazmin, and this is Not Another PD. It's for helping professionals who are tired of theoretical training that doesn't translate to the work you actually do. Here, we talk boundaries, leadership, systems, and how to protect your well-being while doing complex work every day. I'm so glad you're here. Have you ever wondered what helping professionals are actually saying about their workplaces? And if you're listening and you're a leader, you may have gathered a snippet of information from any workplace well-being surveys that you may do. You may have overheard things that they've been saying, but as leaders, a lot of what the practitioners, what the helping professionals actually share about their workplaces, we're not always privy to. Over the last couple of years, I've worked with and worked alongside many helping professionals, whether it's through any of my supervision programs, through consultation, any trainings, and also in my recent psychosocial hazard survey, in which over 100 helping professionals across Australia were sharing their real experiences about their workplaces, both the challenges that they experience, and also the some of what's working well, some of these successes. And I've also had over 10 years experience in the community services sector as well. So I've heard so many things and so many honest accounts of workplaces, and these are the honest conversations that us as leaders are not necessarily privy to. And sometimes it's about asking the right questions about how your teams are really going. And a lot of what the helping professionals are saying, these things can sit beneath the surface as well. So I'm going to, of course, maintain everyone's privacy, and I would absolutely never identify which practitioner has said what. I'm just going to share some actual feedback from helping professionals and what they're saying about their workplaces. As leaders, we need to also pick up the clues that our staff are giving us. So if they're saying things like, I'm really tired, is it just a once-off that they're feeling really tired? Because maybe they've got young children, they get them up at night, and do they have a long commute to go to work? Are they not getting enough sleep? There could be so many reasons why someone in your team could say, I'm really tired. And I'll also share a little bit of some other considerations from a leadership perspective when your staff are saying certain things and what that also could potentially mean, because there's always so much beneath the surface. But one of the common experiences from helping professionals in the sector is saying, I'm just tired. I'm tired all the time. And someone said, I love my job. I just don't know how much longer I can keep doing it like this. And when I heard that particular comment, my first thoughts were, is there a issue with the workload? Are the demands of the work so excessive that despite the fact that this helping professional loves their job, is the workload unsustainable? And it's not just one person who said something similar. That was a pattern that kept coming up. Another common experience that people are saying is, I just need a few days off. There seems to be this pattern in our profession in which that seemed to be the default response if the workload is too high and staff are really feeling the pressure, and they approach their manager and say, I'm really struggling with the workload. Perhaps they're managing the workload of 2 or 3 people because there's some vacant positions in their team, and often sick leave is offered by managers almost as, I would argue, a band-aid solution for a really excessive and unsustainable workload. Just take a few days off and then come back, almost like a few days off of sick leave is going to miraculously protect you from the impacts of an excessive workload that is more than what could ever be expected of one person during a standard business day. One person shared with me that we're expected to do more and more with fewer resources. And resources is quite a vague term. I acknowledge that. So resources could be financial resources in their program that they're working in. Perhaps the financial resources are actually insufficient. There's insufficient funding to really be able to support vulnerable clients. Resources could also be staffing resources, so they don't physically and have enough staff to operate a team effectively. But when we hear things like that, we need to be looking at getting more information. So when we say the resources aren't enough, they're insufficient, what do we mean when we say resources? So if, as a leader, if one of my team members came to me and said, we don't have enough resources, actually taking the time to ask your teams, your staff members, when you say resources, can I ask what exactly that you mean? And perhaps they mean resources in multiple areas, maybe direct funding for clients, resources in terms of staff. It could be physical resources, like perhaps it could be even something basic like stationery that they need to do their job well. And I've definitely worked in different roles as a social worker in which I didn't even have basic resources provided to me. And when I say basic resources, I'm talking about stationery resources. So forget notebooks, forget pens, forget whiteout. So I've certainly worked in roles in which I have to provide everything myself, including therapeutic resources as well. And nothing is provided other than a chair and a desk. And in some places, you're lucky to even have a desk because there might even be a shortage of desks available. So resources can mean so many different things in different contexts. Something else that has been said is nothing changes no matter how many times concerns are raised. So this sort of comment really concerns me. We have helping professionals, they're actually approaching the leader with concerns that they have, and on multiple occasions, however, it hasn't led to any change occurring. If your staff are bringing issues to you and they're actually feeling that they're not being listened to, then that leads to mistrust of the leader, of the organization, and it actually prevents people from speaking up in the future about either the same unaddressed issue or future issues. And that's one of the pillars of a psychologically safe team and work environment, is that staff need to feel safe. And I don't mean physically safe, because in most organizations, if staff speak up about an issue in the workplace, it's unlikely, unless the workplace is highly dangerous, physically dangerous, it's highly unlikely that they would feel physically unsafe to raise an issue with their manager. But the issue is around the psychological safety. Do you actually do your staff feel psychologically safe to address issues? Often the conversations that I'm hearing is that the staff do not feel safe, psychologically safe to address issues, especially if they're raising issues without any action being taken, which is highly concerning. Another one, and I won't share all of them because there's just so very many. Similarly, someone else said, and these are direct quotes, I'm not paraphrasing, these are direct quotes, and someone else said, I don't feel safe speaking up because I'm worried there will be consequences. And how concerning is that? And I have 2 school-age children, and quite often they have surveys, and there's parent surveys that go out and they ask questions around different aspects of the school, but they always ask questions about bullying. And they ask both the students and the parents, do you have any concerns that bullying is an issue at this school? And then you can sort of answer it on a sliding scale to how much you agree or disagree with that statement. But it also asks you questions around, do you feel that the school adequately address issues of bullying when they occur? So it's asking you how often these issues occur, and then how confident you are that the school or the organization can address these issues. And same within the workplace. Do the staff feel confident if they raise issues? It could be workplace bullying, could be discrimination. Do they feel confident that there will be action taken? And if they don't, then you're not providing a psychologically safe work environment, I'm sorry to say. Another quote is, I feel guilty taking leave. So the guilt around taking leave, I know I've mentioned it, I'm sure, in previous episodes or in social media posts, but it does need attention in this episode too. My concerns around this are that you have staff who are not prioritizing their own health and their well-being. They're not prioritizing their family. They're not prioritizing their life outside of work, and these are staff who are more susceptible to burnout because they haven't taken a break. And a specific quote that someone said is, I feel guilty taking leave because I know my colleagues will have to pick up the work. This whole concept of self-sacrifice, so we have to be selfless as helping professionals in every single thing that we do. We could not possibly put our needs above anyone else's because we need to be ultimately self-sacrificing at all costs. If you don't take leave yourself, you're unknowingly sending the message to your teams that it's not safe to take leave. It's not normalized to take leave. And we need to normalize the taking of leave. So this is the huge red flag for me. If that is something that is an issue in your organization, or if you have staff who even pause or hesitate to consider taking leave. Some other feedback that I've heard from helping professionals are, my manager is so overwhelmed themselves that they don't have the capacity to support us. Management don't seem to care about the well-being of staff. These are two different elements, but we're still looking at the reflections that helping professionals have about their leaders. And it's really important as well that as leaders, we actually acknowledge, are our own workloads unrealistic? Do we have too many competing demands that we actually are not able to provide the support to our teams, to our staff that we would ultimately love to be able to? And sometimes workloads, deadlines, KPIs, everything that sits with the leaders, that sits with the managers, it can sometimes appear to the staff that the leaders are not focused on their well-being. And for me, both as a leader, but also as someone who has had many, many leaders over almost 10 years as a government social worker, it's actually quite rare in my experience to find a leader who doesn't care about their teams. In my experience, most leaders care deeply and genuinely about their teams. But often it's the environment around the leader that isn't supportive to them, and the pressures of the leader and everything that they're carrying, it has that unfortunate flow-on effect that then trickles down to their staff below. So it can appear or present, at least to the staff who are not aware of everything that the leaders are carrying, the mental load that they're carrying every single day. It can appear that they're uncaring, but I haven't found that to be the case in most situations. So now that we have a little bit more honest insight from the helping professionals themselves, what are some considerations for us as leaders? So we should be looking at, are there any repeated concerns that keep coming through? If you do any staff wellbeing surveys at your organization and you're hearing similar issues emerging and re-emerging however often do you do the survey, every quarter, every year, are you seeing the same issues being raised over and over again? And again, for me, that would be a red flag that something isn't working as effectively as it could be, right? So what keeps coming up? What are the themes that I'm hearing? Looking at being curious first, instead of going straight into that solution mode, like here's how we fix it. Try having open, reflective conversations with your teams, either as a whole or one-on-one, and say things like, tell me more about this. How long has this been a concern for you? What's the impact that this particular issue is having on you? And also consider, are these issues that are impacting individual staff, or are these issues that are impacting at a more broader systems level or even as a team level? So some questions to ask yourself is this issue happening across multiple staff, multiple program areas? Has it been occurring for a significant period of time? So I've shared some examples of staff who were brave enough to share some of the difficulties in their workplaces. But keep in mind that not all staff feel comfortable or assertive to actually share their concerns. So also as a leader, it's our responsibility to pay attention to what they're not saying. So pay attention to anyone who's quite silent on any issues. They may actually not feel comfortable or safe to share any issues. So sometimes we need to actually ask the direct question. Don't be afraid to ask staff the questions. Don't wait for the sick leave to increase or an influx of resignations on the team. Look, are there any warning signs? What are staff saying? And equally, what are they not saying? These things are really important as leaders in the helping professions, that we need to pay attention to these things. But if these are things that helping professionals are saying with the workloads that they're carrying, then I ask you, what are your fellow leaders saying, or what are you yourself saying or thinking about your own workload? And how safe do you yourself as a leader feel to speak up? To speak up around your own workload? To speak up about whether you're having any difficulty supervising certain staff members, such as maybe performance managing them? So how confident and psychologically safe do you actually feel as a leader to speak up yourself? So I hope this episode has given you a little bit more insight about what helping professionals are actually saying about their workplaces. And let me know if anything surprised you. I would really love to hear your experience as well. Thank you for joining me on Not Another PD. If this episode was helpful and you'd like to find out more, you'll find ways to work with me in the show notes. And if there's a topic you would like covered or someone you think should be on the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. Remember, clear boundaries don't just protect our clients, they protect us too.